Hello and welcome back to the Big OGGIE Bakehouse. This is part 2 in a series, if you like, because it's National Curry Week, or it will be up until the 11th of October. And so we are making a lamb pasanda. I'm not keen on strong hot curries, so a pasanda and korma, those sorts of things that are tasty but not hot and spicy are really my thing.
Safe.
And John will eat anything, quite frankly. So we could have gone with chicken, but John does like a meat curry, so we're doing this for him.
Yeah, you don't get the meat curries very often, certainly not when you buy them in supermarkets, etc. So
and when you do, they're very expensive.
Yeah, because it's cheaper for chicken, but
Exactly.
I find that chicken, you end up with just a coating around the chicken, where with meat, if you do it nice and slow, the flavours and the spices go all in the whole meat.
Exactly.
That works for me.
So we're using lamb, we're going to do lamb pasanda, and we're using a shoulder of lamb. So this is a whole shoulder, which has obviously been boned, and I've just cut it myself into big chunks. So you will need, for this recipe, 30 mils of ghee. And I think if you're going to do it authentically and you like curries, you may as well invest in a little jar of ghee.
Costs about a fiver, doesn't it?
It's about £5-ish, but it is in a jar, and so it will last basically, and you're not going to get the authentic taste without it. So you need 30 mils of ghee. You need about 800 grams of shoulder of lamb. Ours is slightly over that, but it doesn't really matter exactly when you come to the meat. You need 2 tablespoons of ground turmeric. You need 500 mils of the curry base sauce that we made earlier today. John will link that to you, for you.
It will be above your head right now.
It'll be up here somewhere. And you need to do that before you can do the lamb pasanda. So you need to take a look at that one first, and maybe do your base first and then do the other one the next day or something.
If you've already watched part 1, that's great. If you haven't watched part 1 now, but if you've already watched part 1, show them how much we made, because
right, well, it did say in the recipe that this was enough for 1 portion.
Yeah.
Now, I followed the recipe exactly, and this is how much I came up with. It is 2,000 mils.
2 litres.
2 litres, yeah. Basically. And 1 portion size is 500 mils. So there's enough in here for at least 4 curries, all in all. And it freezes really well. So what I'm going to do, it's still warm, so I'm going to let it cool, and then I'm going to decant it into my freezer dishes in 500 ml portions, so that when I next want to make a curry, I just take one out. And you can use this base on any Indian style curry that you want. So yeah, so that didn't actually pan out to what she said, but
that's the thing. When we are trying recipes quite often for the first time ourselves. We find a recipe online or in a magazine, get inspired by it and go for it. So sometimes they're going to be a bit hit and miss, I think, on their ingredients list. Exactly,
but we're usually pretty good, and we, you know, if there's an issue, we can sort of work around it. So, you know, it's no big deal. We ended up with plenty for the freezer.
Absolutely, and
that's
I think they said it lasts 4 days in the fridge.
Yeah, you can keep it in the fridge for 4 days, or it will last. You put it in the freezer, and it will last for a few months, 6 months probably, in the freezer with no problem at all. So that's your base sauce. You need 50 grams of ground almonds. You need a tablespoon of sugar, granulated sugar. You need some sultanas. I'm using the jumbo raisins because I really like them, and I don't think there's much difference between a raisin and a sultana, but these are big and juicy and yummy, so I'm using those. You need 100 grams of creamed coconut. So ours is already sort of semi-liquidy, but I know you can buy it in a block, and John tells me if you buy the block, the solid block, it does melt down. So
I believe so, yeah. But quite often when you buy it in supermarkets, it'll come in those kind of cartons, which is like that. But you can get it in tins. There's loads of ways. Go for the creamed coconut, not coconut milk.
Yeah, not coconut milk. It's got to be creamed coconut. So 100 mils of that, or 100 grams. Sorry, not mils. 100 grams of that. Then you need a tablespoon of garam masala. This one's a roasted one, so it's already been tempered. You need some single cream, about 125 mils of single cream, and that is it for your recipe. The ingredients list that you will see that John will add does say flaked almonds and coriander for garnishing.
It's an American recipe. You're reading cilantro. And
yeah, I am. I'm thinking cilantro. Hang on, convert this to English.
Coriander, but that's just for garnish.
Exactly. So
you don't really do nuts.
I don't.
You do the flour in this, but you don't do nuts.
I'm putting ground almonds in because they're in the recipe, and I know that this recipe is going to be a mild, creamy recipe. So I don't mind putting the ground almonds in, but I certainly don't want flaked almonds on the top of my curry. I'd spend ages then picking them off. So
exactly. It's just what you're like.
Not much space, not much point in that. So to start off with, we are going to put, you're going to need a casserole, one that you can put on your hob. So this recipe is basically cooked on a hob. I'm not going to cook it on the hob. I'm going to do my prep on the hob, and then I'm going to put it in the oven to slowly cook, basically, because I want my lamb to be really tender. So, but you're going to need to use a casserole on the hob to get it all going, whether you put it in the oven or whether you don't. So it must be, don't use Pyrex, because I've tried Pyrex once and it went bang.
Yeah, I blew one up once when I was about 12 in my mother's kitchen, and she didn't know. Yeah, not fun.
No, I mean, Pyrex goes everywhere, it really does. So a good solid casserole dish that you can put on your hob. So to start off with, you heat your ghee in the casserole, and then you're going to cover your lamb with turmeric, as such. I'm going to give it a stir around. I'm not going to put my hands in because my hands are going to be orange if I do that.
Gloves, exactly.
You can use gloves if you've got gloves, great. So give it a stir around, which I'll do in a minute, and then you're going to brown it on all sides in your casserole. What I might have to do, because it's quite a lot, is do it in 2 stages, because you want it to brown, not to stew, basically. So I'll get going on that, and you can come back and see how I'm getting on.
Okay, darling, how are we doing?
Right, so we've browned all the meat, and I did it in sections, and now I've poured it all back in. Casserole's very hot. So the next thing you need to do is you need to add your base sauce.
Okay,
give it a stir, and then it says to cover it and let it cook on low until the lamb is nice and tender and cooked through. So in goes the sauce.
You want to put a bit more? We've got plenty. Okay. I see, again, looking at their ingredient list, I would say maybe you want a bit more sauce. What do you think?
I think I'm going to add another scoop.
Just to loosen it up a bit.
And
we've got plenty.
so I'm going to add about another 200 mils. But I'm also going to put a bit of water in it.
Okay. Because you think about it, you're now literally going to casserole this for a while.
Yeah.
So it needs to have some
liquid in it.
liquid in it.
So give it a good stir, and I've managed to deglaze, woohoo, posh words, the bottom of the casserole, because obviously you had little bits of meat, yummy, stuck to the bottom. So.
It is looking like it's supposed to. It really does look like a lamb pasanda.
Now, this is what I'm going to do, because I'm a rebel and I don't necessarily always follow the way that the recipe says. The recipe says to stir in your sauce, put a lid on, and let it simmer on low for an hour, hour and a half until the lamb is cooked and soft. My problem with cooking on a hob, because our hob is electric, the heat source is directly underneath the bottom. And that, for me, always sounds like alarm bells, because things can get caught on the bottom of a pan and burn. And because you're not going to keep looking at it every 5 minutes, because then you'll just let the heat out of the thing anyway, you're not going to actually know. So what I'm going to do is I've put my oven on 160 degrees Celsius. It's a fan oven, and I'm going to put my casserole with the meat and the sauce into the oven for an hour, and then I will check it. If it's in the oven, the heat is all around it, so it shouldn't catch anywhere. So that's my rationale.
That's your theory, it sounds good.
But you do what you want to do and what you think is best. If you want to do it in a slow cooker, you could do it in a slow cooker, but obviously
you need longer.
Yeah, it's going to be like hours then. But this recipe is adaptable to whatever you like to do, and I personally like to cook in the oven.
Yeah, shoulder is not quite a low, slow cook, but it is something that needs a bit longer than mostly. What John said earlier was really important, in as much as you want the lamb to absorb all of the flavours and stuff that's in the sauce. So into the oven it goes for an hour. I'll check it in an hour and see where I'm going from there. Okay? Be back in a bit. Look good.
Okay, so that's been in an hour now.
Looks good. Just a question of how well the meat's doing, really, I guess.
If I just get a fork.
Yep.
So the ideal thing would be if I can pull this piece of meat apart with 2 forks, which I can.
Yes, you can.
Okay.
So
I'm going to leave it for another 10 minutes.
Okay.
Just because I want to serve this up for our tea.
Okay.
I'm going to put it back in the oven for 10 more minutes, and then I'm going to add all the other ingredients, the cream and the coconut milk and all that sort of stuff, and leave it for another 10 to 15 minutes for all that to cook in, and then it's ready to serve. So whilst I'm doing that, I'll put some rice on so we can have some nice basmati rice with it.
Lovely.
Okay. It's been in now for an hour and 15 minutes, and it's yummy. So now's the time to put the rest of the ingredients in and pop it back in the oven for another 10 minutes or so, just to let all this stuff cook in and the flavours to come out, really. So first of all, garam masala, tablespoon of sugar, bring out the tastes, the ground almonds, some lovely sultanas.
You do like a fruity curry, don't you?
I do like a fruity, creamy curry. In goes the coconut cream. And then last but not least, the single cream. I'm going to try and tip this towards you, but obviously I can't go too far. So can you see that, John?
Looks pretty good, yeah.
Yeah. So obviously you can see now that it's a creamy colour. It's got all the spices and the sultanas and things in, and the sugar. So I'm going to put the lid back on, put it back in for another 10 minutes just to allow that all to cook in, and then basically it's ready for serving. So I will cook up some basmati rice, and we'll be ready for a delicious tea. Okay, so we just tasted it and it was in drastic need of salt. So we've put quite a lot in, and it's
There was
much.
no salt in the recipe.
No, there wasn't.
Which is very strange. So we've added it.
So we've added salt. We've added a few more sultanas because I like a nice sweet curry. And so it's going to go back in the oven now for a good 10 to 15 minutes, just to allow that stuff to cook through. And then we should be ready for serving. So that was a long day in the kitchen, but the result is great. So here we have lamb pasanda, cooked from absolute scratch. We made our own base sauce. I say sauce loosely, it's more like a paste type thing.
I call it paste on the title.
Yeah. So we made the base paste to start with. And here we are,
Looks
nice
really
and
good.
tender, served up with some basmati rice, some poppadoms obviously, and a nice chapati.
Yep, bit of mango chutney just to add a bit more sweetness because that's the way we like it.
Absolutely.
But hey, it's going to be lovely.
Maybe next time I'll make mango chutney.
That would be an interesting one we could do. We'll certainly do
Absolutely.
that. So, thank you very much for watching.
Absolutely, it's been a long haul, but you stuck with us, so well done you. I hope it turns out fabulously for you as well. And do all the things that you usually do. So give us a like, subscribe if you've not subscribed before. And if you feel so inclined, please do subscribe to our sister channel, Big OGGIE Cornwall, or
Our brother channel, Big OGGIE Golf,
or
I
Big
guess.
OGGIE Golf.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, thanks for coming along. Send us your pictures, let us know how you get on with it, and we'll see you all again really soon.
Yeah, we want your pictures in on for Thinks for Drinks anymore.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you very much, and I'll see you all again soon.
bye everybody.
Bye for now.